Hey, welcome to Leaving CrazyTown with Finn and Sarah.
What are we going to talk about today, Finn?
Well, I don't know. Sarah, actually I do. Sarah asked me to talk a little bit about how those of you who have watched other episodes of ours know that I'm transgender and I've been in recovery and living my life many, many years presenting female.
Yep.
And now male. And Sarah wanted me to talk a little bit about the differences of that. So, we're just going to let Sarah lob in some questions. I could tell you things, but for now we'll just start with...
Well, I think it's fascinating because, obviously we all have our perceptions about what it's like. As a woman, I could have 100 beliefs about males, and I know they're just beliefs and thoughts. And we're really trying to be spacious around what's female, what's male. But I am curious with Finn because he's basically experienced both. So I've never met someone that's experienced both. So I'm very curious to find out kind of the differences between what are a few challenges you've noticed being a male on the planet that maybe were unexpected or a surprise. And obviously we might know the challenges as a female, but I don't know. What are the things you've noticed?
Well, it's funny when you say challenge or surprise. I was in a group and I had a therapist to help me with this stuff. So he explained to me, some differences that I might find in the community. So being socialized as female.
Yes.
Is, it's an interesting trip to now be perceived as male, which is what I love, but it's very different. So I would say the male community itself is far more competitive as opposed to cooperative.
Got it.
So I've had men shove me on the sidewalk. I've had somebody throw me into a wall and on my way into the restroom. And I've had someone tell me to F off. And a friend of mine was like, we were walking downtown at work and they're like, is that normal? And I said, well, since I transitioned, evidently it is. So being socialized as female, it's very common for us to smile at people.
Right.
And interact and make eye contact.
Yes.
Right? Unless you're in a fearful situation, you might not. So transitioning to male, I found myself walking around being smiley and looking at people. So number one, so first off, the restroom. In the ladies' room at work, people hang out.
Right.
They talk. There's places to sit. They're doing their hair. They're chatting. In the men's room, no.
Not
you go
so
in,
much.
You get out, you stare. So I was told
Oh my God.
a couple of visits to the men's room late that I stare at my feet and don't talk to anyone. And so I was in Vermont, I think, where I was at a public restroom. I was driving up to my stepson's and I smiled at a man and he threw me into the wall. So evidently you don't do that.
Apparently most men are homophobic.
So it's been, and as a matter of fact, some friends told me when I first started transitioning, men don't smile as much as you. And I'm like, F that, I'm smiling, I don't care. I will not smile at a man in the restroom, that's for sure, ever again.
This is so fascinating.
Not to mention that the men's restroom's disgusting compared to the women's room. So if you think trans men are jumping up in joy, like so happy to go do our secret stuff in the men's room, that's a lie. Just let us go to the bathroom and leave. It's gross. Anyway, the other thing is how much women touch me without my permission. So my space gets invaded a lot. It didn't before. Occasionally, you'd have that creepo guy that'd be like, "Oh, woman,
so wait
whatever."
A minute, see here, did you see what I just said? All right, so you're saying when you were a woman,
But I was never a woman. I was presenting as female.
As a female.
We're just gonna educate Sarah as we go along.
All right, presenting as a female. People that your friends, other people didn't touch you as much.
Not like now. No, I have had several women that I don't even know in recovery meetings come up and touch my chest while they talk to me, and I'm like, that's odd. It's interesting to watch the whole sex powers. If somebody's in recovery and they're familiar with the 4-step, the sex powers thing, and how that's used. Now that I'm presenting male as opposed to before, because
by women, you mean?
By women, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot more like their voice will change. People that I knew before used to interact with me a certain way that I know now interact with me different. It's interesting. I'm always like, what's going on here? And I get the sense that they're looking for some feedback from me that they're not going to get, number one, because I just don't do that stuff. But
right.
like a hit.
So are
You know how you talk
are you
about the
talking
hit?
about noticing women flirting? Is that the behavior?
No, well, that's what it appears to me to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because if they're touching you, I'm
Well,
assuming.
touching is completely different than. I mean, that's weird, but that's just a thing that I recognize. But the
Right.
flirting piece, yes, I didn't experience that before,
Okay.
obviously,
Right.
but
Wow.
I just think it's flirting and like the way they interact with me is different. I don't think it's so much like they're flirting because they want to be with me. It's like an
How they
operandi, a modus operandi for men.
No, and you know what I want to say? I want you women watching to start thinking about this, because now my mind is spinning. Now I'm thinking of friends of mine that I know, when I see them, when all of a sudden we get around men, and it goes for both genders actually. We get around men and suddenly this happened, and my friend is like behaving in this like very acquiescing way and passive, and then kind of stroking their egos and asking, and I'm like, what is happening right now? Okay. But I've also noticed with men, I remember going to a meeting like a year ago, and it was like mostly men, and when I walked in, like they got weird. I can't even remember what started happening, but the way they were engaged with each other was kind of this macho kind of, and you tell me what this means. Like, do men feel like they need to be, all right, what I'm saying is this. I think men feel like they need to behave a certain way in front of women, and women feel like they need to behave a certain way in front of men. When we're talking about here, can't we just be who we are?
Right, I can't
go
speak
ahead.
for all men, but I know the male interaction when women are around tends to be more competitive.
Yes, competitive.
But I can't speak for everybody.
No, but I think that's very true.
So the other thing for me personally, transitioning, so I should mention that I medically transition as well as socially. So I have like all male hormones on board, and I've changed a lot. I knew that there were changes going to happen to the outside of me, and I understood that I would change the way I think and feel, but not as, I don't think I understood to the core at how much I would change.
Yes.
So I was, after I got into recovery, not before, I was very able to cry, free to express my feelings. They're definitely stunted. Like, I feel like I'm going to cry. It doesn't flow
the same way.
Yeah, it kind of gets stuck, and then I'm whatever. So that piece is different. I don't want to talk about, of course, I'm like
much.
I feel exhausted just from these two videos.
Right.
We made a video earlier. I'm already exhausted, but
And
talking.
the thinking, the concentration thing you were saying, how you used to have like 20 different things.
Oh yeah.
That's
So
another thing.
I used to be able to multitask like a super champ, and now I'm like, even if Sarah's talking to me and I'm trying to think, I'm like, I can't. I'm definitely more one track thinker. And when I first started transitioning and I was at work, I thought it was because of grief that I was struggling to do what I normally
Right.
did. I actually had to change the way I work to do one project at a time, where before I used to have like 5 up on the computer.
Right.
I can't do that anymore. I can, but not as effectively, and it's confusing. I get socially, I get tired a lot easier.
Right, so what we're talking about that is really important, and you guys may have some comments about this, but we're talking about gender differences, because to me, basically Finn's saying, I started taking testosterone, and my behaviors, my thinking, and my relation to my emotions shifted. So we're basically supporting the argument that there are biological distinctions between men and women. And
Oh, yeah,
some people
definitely.
may have feelings about that or not. It's not to say that we need to accept certain behaviors. We still need to speak up for what our needs. But as I've gotten to know Finn more, it's made me feel a lot more compassion towards my son, who's 22 years old, because stuff that I may have taken personally is not personal.
Yeah,
Knowing that he's a male.
Well, the other thing, yeah, so the personal stuff, like I remember getting twisted up about other things people did or said. that stuff doesn't even faze me today. I'm like,
Right.
what are they, like, people will say, oh, are you upset with me? I'm like, what? You're not even on my radar. And I don't mean that in a rude way.
Nope.
But I also get in this business mode where I'm like trying to do something or I'm thinking, and people around me think I'm upset, and I have no idea what they're talking about. I'm like, no, I don't even care about that. Like, so my dramatic feelings about things have definitely, it's pared down a lot. The other thing I was going to say is communication. I know that I used to be able to read between the lines a lot better and understand, like, I'd get this big story from somebody and I was trying to pull out, like, what, now I'm like, oh my God, get to the point. What are you asking? So I ask for clarification a lot because I know the difference between how I used to interpret that stuff and what it is today. And so I never, ever, ever realized how much people don't give direct answers until I transitioned.
Oh my God.
Because I don't have the tolerance or the wherewithal to pull between all the lines like I used to. Now I have to ask, like, so are you saying yes? Because the word yes is sufficient. I think women, that my experience with them and myself before, was they need to give like all this explanation, and I have no bandwidth in my brain for it, and I don't want it. I want to know what the answer is. I don't need to know all the feelings and emotions. Like, if you went to the store to buy milk, say I bought milk, don't tell me about how you passed a tree on the left and then you saw the flowers on the right and you had a thought and then a song came on and then you finally got to the
in now. All right, we got to wrap this up. We're gonna have people writing in because this is classic. What I was gonna say is, my son, he'll hate me to say this, but when he talks about girls in the past that talk to him, he often says too many words. And that's what Finn says. So I think there is some legitimacy to the differences in men and women's brains, and that men may want just like, can I get some of the facts? Not that men shouldn't listen to your partner or whatever, and we're not talking about that. We'll talk about that some other time, but there are differences. So how are we going to wrap this up, Finn?
That is true. Like, I hear people say all the time, well, I told my husband, and, you know, and then and I say, well, what exactly did you say?
Right.
And then I'm like, oh my God, of course he has no idea what you're asking, because I don't even know what's going on there.
All right, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to say very simple suggestions. Maybe if you're a woman, when you're talking to a male, a friend or someone else, maybe try to be a little more specific. I'm not saying change who you are, but if they start looking really confused or bored, like, either say, are you still listening? Or
cut to the chase.
Yeah. And again, this is all on a continuum. See, I'm driving him crazy. All right. And if you're a man, maybe have some patience and love, and maybe say, hi, honey, I know you're wanting to tell me this story. Could you just shorten it, or whatever? Like,
I'm just going to say, I'm going to interrupt too. And I'm going to say, if I actually think, I've talked to a few trans men about this, where, you know, I was and still am a feminist, and I used to be like, why are men so stupid? Why don't they see this? Why don't they observe that? What is wrong with them? And now my apologies to any men out there, because I understand that, like, I am in a very fortunate position where I get to know what my brain was like before and how I reacted to things before, and I know what it's like today. And I can tell you this.
It's different.
Biology. I mean, you can be socialized a certain way, and I was socialized female, but still with the biology changing, I got nothing. There's a lot going on over here, you know, and the louder Sarah gets, the more I'm like, oh my God.
All right.
Sorry.
We are saying there is biology, and of course, we still think everybody should be loving and kind and spacious.
Right.
So we're leaving CrazyTown. Write your comments, fasten your seatbelt. We got more to come.
We're out of here.